Good morning, everyone. This is Mike Young. I'm a risk manager at CyberSecOp, and I'll be talking about data security in a time of COVID today. Just a reminder, this is being recorded, so please be mindful of that. And if you could, save your questions for the end or use the Zoom chat feature to chat with us. So the COVID-19 pandemic is presenting a great deal of challenges to IT security folks. Employees are suddenly having to work from home with very little preparation. There are obvious security challenges to that. There's VPN utilization, multi-factor authentication issues for that. Are you ready to send your employees home? There's also home office security. You have a secure office area, is your Wi-Fi secure? And the other challenges as well are social engineering awareness. A lot of people let their guard down when they're at home, as opposed to the office. People may use their home devices or their devices at home for web surfing and go to places they typically wouldn't at the office, and that does expose you to additional threats. There are VPN issues. There's wireless, Wi-Fi, and IoT issues as well. People start combining wireless keyboards, tethering to their phones, and other things that may present substantial risk to an organization. And of course, there's always governance, regulation, and compliance. Are you doing it in a correct and secure environment? Confidentiality of client data and your own employee data is paramount as well. And also mobile device management, since people now are using devices outside of the office that they may never have been before. There's some issues about that as well. Today is presenting many security challenges. 95% of most people in America are still under orders from their state, local government, or from their company to work from home. Kids are still schooling at home, which forces a lot of parents to still work from home. Almost all meetings are being done virtually. COVID's still happening, of course. The numbers are going down, thankfully. People are working from home. Most firms, it's up to 100% or near 100%. And VPN capacity and internet bandwidth at homes and at VPN concentrators is being strained. Telecom is using bandwidth for both voice over IP and call forwarding, so that's another challenge as well. And there's minimal security controls in place in a home office environment. A lot of companies never had the chance to do capacity planning for this. And also on top of that, we're starting to see companies start returning employees to work, and no idea of what companies are prepared for, what they'll return to. The pandemic threats to your organization. Does everyone have a secured laptop? I heard stories of people were told just go to Best Buy and buy a laptop. When you do that, you don't always have a hardened platform with permissions turned off, antivirus installed, even correct applications installed. Is a VPN installed? Is there multi-factor authentication in use for that? If not, you're opening up your VPN to some serious threats. Are you using endpoint protection or antivirus on your endpoints? Is your Wi-Fi secure? Are you using a strong password on your Wi-Fi? Are any of the IoT devices in use, like wireless keyboards and mice? Some of the older ones, or the ones you may find in a dollar store, are actually very dangerous, and something you may not use in an office but use at home could actually expose your organization to even more risk. Are your mobiles, are your BYOD devices, are your tablets and phones, are they all secure? Do you have a lost device policy and plan? If someone loses a laptop, if someone loses a tablet or a mobile phone, are you using any sort of data protection, data loss protection, in case someone takes their laptop and sticks a thumb drive in, and then one of your children is using it on their laptop? That could be a serious issue with data loss. And some of the cyber risks to your organization, not just what I spoke about, is the human factor. 88% of all breaches are due to a human error. People in the IT industry, believe it or not, are more likely to click on a spam or spear phishing email than most people. A lot of people are poorly trained, and right now, with everyone working from home, there's no buy-in, there's no joie de vivre at working, in an environment with your colleagues because you're at home. 1 in 4 workers have clicked on a phishing email, and that's a service we offer, is phishing testing to see if your employees have been well trained and if they'll click on an email. Younger people are more likely to click on these things. They're all used to clicking and swiping left, swiping right on their mobile devices, so they click very quickly before they think. 23 states in the United States currently have data privacy laws, and soon all 50 states will follow suit. It's only a matter of time. When people are working out of the office, there's a lot more resistance to new security procedures and protocols and policy. There's less of a, the office environment encourages nice policy and security procedures. And remote people have fewer safeguards. They're working in their comfy pajamas and they have their feet up and they leave their laptop on all day. They're not feeling as secure as they have been when they were in the office environment or outdoors in front of customers. The security access management is a critical part of this. As people suddenly go home, you want to make sure that they still have the policy of least privilege. The amount of access they have is just enough to get their work done, and they don't have any additional privileges. You should restrict administrative users to only a few people, so you don't have your whole team having admin privileges, because it really reduces risks both on the workstation and in the applications they may log into. Of course, part of that is you should, even while everyone is at home, you should be reviewing this periodically to make sure that people have the right amount of privileges and they aren't overprivileged. Like I mentioned, the access of least privilege, just enough to get your work done. It's a little harder when everyone's remote to make sure that's done correctly, but it's still vitally important. You should have a good access management policy, something that's easy to follow and everyone can understand, and something that can be implemented well. And the most important, in my opinion, about access management is using strong multi-factor authentication. Something out of band. When I worked at RSA Security, we always talked about for multi-factor, something you own, something you are, or something you possess. It could be a text message sent to your mobile. It could be biometrics. It could be something beyond just using a password or something on your desktop or workstation. And also, when your employees are out at home or working out in the field, confidentiality of very sensitive data is critical. Part of that is knowing what data should be classified as sensitive and what procedures should be added to that. Classifying your data, so you can't just say all of our data is super secret, because then you end up, if you do any policies, procedures, or applications that are focused on filtering, like a data loss protection service, then you're going to get a lot of false positives. Data retention and storage, making sure you've got backups. When your employees are out in the field, they may not have access to network storage or cloud storage, or it may take a lot of time to back things up. I'm a big fan of secure backup offsite or in the cloud, because one thing CyberSecOp is known is for our ransomware remediation, and we always see the bad guys go after storage first, because they know if they can get rid or encrypt your storage and your backups, then when they go after the workstation and the data, they know that they're going to get paid in Bitcoin, because they've also attacked the storage. Data loss protection, just as important, making sure your data is not freely floating around on mobile devices, thumb drives, external drives, or being emailed, or it being sent in Gmail or Yahoo accounts. It's really important to do that as well. And data encryption, both at rest and in motion. So you want to make sure your workstations, your mobiles, your laptops, all have data encryption. So it's data at rest and data in motion should be encrypted. And in a pandemic or any kind of serious emergency situation, you want to make sure that your facilities are recoverable in a disaster. So if everybody is working from home and it's just a security guard in the lobby, what if something bad were to happen? What if there were a flood or fiber cut to your data center, IT closet? Do you have planning for that? What would people do? Do you have procedures? Do you have backup facilities? Do you know who to contact? Does your building owner know who to contact? Sorry, I'll admit a guest here. And a business continuity plan to make sure your business can keep going in the event of a disaster. So it's not just recovering from the disaster, but making sure you can very quickly recover from that from a business perspective. Do you have any documentation testing your disaster recovery plans or business continuity plans? What if your data center goes down? What if one of your providers goes down? We've all heard the stories of cable providers and telecom providers going down. Do you have backup to your data centers and to your backup facilities with multiple service providers? And it's not just your data, it's also your people. What if there's a hurricane like is happening now? Do you have plans for people to quickly evacuate and still able to work effectively? When I worked at a big telecom, I heard a story of a large southern bank in New Orleans that got really hit hard by Hurricane Katrina, and both their main data center and backup data center were in New Orleans, and they were totally destroyed, and it really hurt the bank because they didn't plan effectively for a hurricane. So not just evacuating your people, which is critical, but also making sure your data is backed up away from any kind of potential disasters. And of course, on top of that, if a traditional office where people may have worked in the office, now you need remote access policies and procedures. So you've got the equipment, you've got the VPN, you've got the multi-factor installed, and you've got the ability to allow your people to very quickly pick up their laptops and go and work from home. There's also infrastructure challenges because of this. Accuracy and review, are you reviewing your hardware, your service providers, your data closet, your data center? Making sure you know what is critical, what's important. If your firewall were to fail, do you have something to back it up? Who's managing your network devices? What if you have an empty office and all of a sudden you're seeing laptops or workstations coming on and no one's there? You should have the ability to monitor that. What if the security guard in the lobby is using your Wi-Fi, and nobody else in your office should be there and using Wi-Fi. You should be able to monitor that and make sure people are not hacking into your network. Also, like I said, if you have a fiber cut or a backhoe is in the parking lot and cuts your internet, do you have backup for that? Also, from a people perspective and infrastructure, what if, people do get ill and they're really out of commission? Do you know who to go to next? So you should have part of your disaster planning, making sure you know who to go, from the top to the bottom in case bad things happen. And a great question is, who's going to go to the office if everybody's working from home? And if something happens, do you keep one or two people in the office, during business hours? And of course, the traditional physical security, keeping people out, cameras, locks, for both, and also for the office and the home office. Are your people setting aside a safe area to work? Keeping the kids out of the home office, closing their laptops when they're not working, and logging off. Like I mentioned a bit, data loss protection and prevention is just as important. Your people are now out there. You don't see what they're doing. They've got thumb drives. They might go and their laptop is not working, or they forgot the power cord, and they start using somebody else's, their kid's workstation or laptop, and they use a thumb drive. It really becomes critical if that data is moving around uncontrolled, unprotected, unencrypted. If that thumb drive were to be lost, or your kid's laptop was compromised, there could be a risk exposure there. So you do need to, make sure you know where your data is sitting, the ability to monitor it, the movement of that data, the ability to protect it, make sure it's encrypted at all times, and also to manage, universal policies across your enterprise, the ability to remediate, and also report. You want to know if people are in violation of data loss rules in your organization. You don't want them to be less effective, but you do want to be able to let them know, hey, don't use your Yahoo account for sending sensitive information. Okay, so people, you've got a secure environment. People are working from home. Everything's working great. But now we're starting to return back to work, back to the office. What has changed? What do you expect to encounter when people start returning? People may have had to run out and buy their own a laptop that they have to use. They may have just been sitting at a desk with a workstation. So you need to update and patch those devices. I know patching can be cumbersome in a VPN, in a remote environment. So that's something you should consider. You need to closely monitor these new devices coming back, these tablets, these new phones that may not have mobile device management solutions on them. So as they bring them in, you want to make sure that they're correctly configured and secure and have the appropriate safeguards on them. You want to, as people return to the office, you want to make sure that they haven't been lax where they have at home, that you keep your office security policies are starting to be enforced once again. You start locking the doors and checking people in and signing people in and wearing badges. And you shouldn't just say, okay, come in on Monday. You should have the plan ready to do something, because you may have lost internet bandwidth. Nobody would know because nobody's been in the office. So you should be prepared to get ready for your people to return. Make sure everything's working correctly. And of course, training, security awareness training. I know it's been tough with people working from home, but that your people are always your first line of defense. And of course, protecting the data as it comes back. You want to make sure, once again, that your employees, your data, and everything must be protected as usual. And now this is where we can talk about how CyberSecOp can help you in a time of pandemic. From, work from home, emergencies, return to office. We've done this before. We can help you with emergency planning. We have work at home capacity testing capabilities, remote connection and encryption policies. We can help you update any security procedures or policies or the employee workbook you may have about working from home. Data protection and classification. We have technology and people and policies that can help you, make sure your data is classified correctly, making sure it's protected and encrypted, and just making sure it's being done right. Access control, like I said, is critical, including multi-factor authentication. So we can help you make sure that people aren't overprivileged, and someone who moved from accounting to finance still doesn't have those accounting privileges. We do offer security event monitoring and managed detection and response. So we're not just going to send you an email saying, we think that Jim's laptop is being attacked. We actually have the capability to not just detect it, but also respond to it and stop it very quickly. We have mobile device management, which allows, any kind of mobile devices. Oh, sorry about that. And we also have cyber and IT strategy, as well as performance support. And so we've got a few minutes left. I know I wanted to keep it to half an hour. We can go over that, but let's open it up to questions and see if anyone has